All right, welcome everybody to this week's client support webinar. My name is Ben McDowell with traderscoach.com. Today is November 20th, 2024. Hope everybody's doing well. All right, crypto, the markets cranking along here. So we're going to take a look at some of those and discuss some things here today. Before we get going, I'm going to turn it over to Jean in case she has any announcements.
Hello, beautiful traders. I guess the first thing I wanted to mention is that we have Stock Analysis Friday, every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific time. And I'm going to post the link so you can join us for that if you haven't already. And also, if you get a chance, just type in the questions area. And that just lets us know that, yes, you can see the screen and hear the audio and that everything's A-okay. And good to see everybody here. Nice group. And Ben, back to you.
All right, thank you. Also, too, I think it'd be a good idea to mention, just so people can start thinking about it. You know, we're going to have a in-person tutorial coming up here in Tucson, probably end of January, you know, middle of February, right around that ballpark. And the idea is we're going to go over trading the markets. It'll probably be a Sunday and a Monday, and Monday all day we're going to trade. Okay, so if that kind of format interests you, definitely drop by. We've had a lot of fun with it. We've done several of them before. Always a good turnout. They aren't super large groups, so a lot of personal stuff that we can do with you on those. But, you know, we're going to show you how to use the software. We may use day trading time frames like on the NASDAQ. We may explore different types of trading, the scalping, the trend trading. And, you know, with scalping, we look for liquidity levels, fair value gaps, manipulation, and things of that nature in the market. So we cover all that kind of stuff. So if any of that stuff interests you, you know, definitely keep that in mind, and we'll send you an email as well. All right, hopefully you can see my screen, hear me okay, and all that kind of good stuff. Today's focus, we're going to talk about, you know, I have a training session that I do each week that we meet, along with any questions that you may have. Last week we went over basically ATM strategies and things like that, or we can talk about that as well. But today I thought we'd look at target zones and specifically using the PTF. Okay, so that's also on my list today. And if anything else of interest comes up, just let us know. We're going to be here for about a half an hour. All right, so let me quickly just go through the administrational items. And of course, the first thing I've got to bring up is our disclaimer that we have to do for every webinar. And we want you to know that, you know, past performance doesn't guarantee future performance. There's no guarantees whatsoever. We deal in a realm of probabilities when we trade the financial markets. Therefore, risk control is essential. And also trading with money you can afford to risk as well. That is important for a variety of reasons, not only financial, but when you're trading with money that you can afford to do it with, your state of mind is so much better. Okay, the stress is gone, so to speak. And that's a really important aspect of doing well in the markets. So keep that in mind. And, you know, if you're learning to trade, you can do it through prop firms. You can do it through just simulation trading, however you want to do it. But the idea is you want to have kind of an edge in the market, obviously, before you get in there with real money, and you want to have some experience with all the platforms and how to use your trading tools and so forth. So that's really super important. And then let's see, what else can I tell you? All right, so anything that we talk about here, run it by, of course, your financial advisor or whoever manages your money to be sure they're suitable for you. I don't know your personal situation, and they do. So I think that kind of wraps it up. Now, in the realm of trading, either in a simulation or with money you can afford to risk, or if you're interested in day trading, I strongly recommend using a prop firm. I use the Apex Trader Funding firm, and I'm day trading pretty much every day, either in the evening on the Asian London markets, or I'm trading during the New York markets during the day on the NASDAQ. And I trade very short time frames with confirmation on some higher time frames and things of that nature. But great way in which to get started is the prop firms. And the reason for that is they give you free data for one thing, very inexpensive. I'm going to put a code up here that I put up pretty much every week, and I'll put that up in there where you can get involved in this and save a ton of money using our code. And they give you free data. So it's pretty much a slam dunk, even if you just want to open up one small, $50,000 evaluation account for the data, it's worth it because it's only going to cost you like maybe 38 bucks a month. And you're going to pay more than that through some of the primary data vendors. So I think it's a great deal, good way to go, get your feet wet, see if you like it, and you get free data too in the futures market. But anyway, you can check that out and read all about it on the link. All right, now on my new book, The Art of Trading, 2nd edition, guess what? Coming out pretty soon now, they tell me. All right, so it's being printed. All right, so I think by Gene, correct me if I'm wrong, am I right in saying December? Is that when it's coming out?
The printing is done in December, so the deliveries will be first week of January.
Okay, so first week of January. Okay, so about a month away, a little over a month away on that. So if you've ordered it, you will be getting it shipped directly to you rather. And if you're interested in ordering this, I'll put some links up in the recording, or you can just go to our website and grab it under education and books, and it will take you right to our Amazon page. Also too, money management books, great place to first start out. If you're new to trading, that's where you should start. Look at money management kind of like putting a seatbelt on before you drive the car, right? So you want to do that first, and then of course you can get into all the technicals with Elliott Wave and things like that in my new book. So definitely keep that in mind and check that out. Software, we have tons of software here. Our tools that we primarily use is the ART trading software along with the OWL, PTF, TLM, ERI indicators. We have scanners to find opportunities each and every week. And a lot of our more opportunities, market opportunity research reports are done through those. And then of course we have our risk control software as well. All right, so that kind of sums up the admin stuff to cover. And again, if you have any questions, just use the questions window in the webinar software. All right, I'm just going to start out with Tesla here real quick. And for those new here, basically what you're looking at is NinjaTrader software and our 3 charts. We have 3 charts, all of the same market. We have a 60-minute chart on the far left, a daily here in the center, and then a weekly on the far right. And you can see they're all happen to be the same stock. In this case, it's Tesla. And then our indicators, the pyramids are here, the reversals are here. We've got the indicators down here for confirmation, and then we've got our scanners up there as well. So we've got everything kind of represented. Let me just move that over so you can see the scanners a little better up there. That's kind of how they look when you spread them out and give it a little more space up there. So there they are there. So I want to talk about specifically the PTF today. So the PTF is the Precision Trend Filter. How many people out there have that right now? I imagine pretty much everybody. But just let me know in the questions area if you have the PTF. And the PTF, I'm just going to label it here, is this indicator here. And you can see it on all 3 charts as well. Okay, right there. All right, so quite a few people have this indicator already. And basically, the probability of the indicator is 75%. So it's correct 75% of the time, which is quite high for anything in the markets, but it's not 100%. So you have to realize that right off the bat. It's still a realm of probabilities. So basically it operates off 3 colors. And what I'm going to do for right now, so I'm just going to open it up. In fact, what I'm going to do is let's go ahead and just remove some of the other indicators here so it's nice and clear. And eventually I'll be getting to the other indicators as well. All right, so basically I'm going to remove it, and then on this chart just open that up, and then you can see the Precision Trend Filter. All right, so as you can see, it oscillates between different colors. And the colors obviously are yellow, green, and red. And then there's an oscillator line in it. Now, what's important in how I use it really is the colors. However, the oscillator line is what determines the colors. So there's some upper points and lower points, and these are represented by lines. Hopefully you can see that there at home. And let me just even make it bigger. Okay, how's that? So you got a line here and a line here. So this upper line and lower line are marked there. And then you have the oscillator that moves up and down and goes above and below the lines or in between the lines. So there's certain times when the oscillator gets on the other side of these lines that it will generate colors. And for example, when it's green, there's an indication that eventually it will return and make a higher high. Likewise, when it's red, it means it will return and make a lower low. When it's yellow, it's neutral. So it has no reading at all when it's yellow. So in this example here of Tesla, okay, notice that we have a green PTF here indicating that more highs are coming. So then the next question is, well, what more highs are coming? Well, in this time frame here, all right, we certainly can see that the highest price in that green area is this high here that occurred over the last 2 weeks, right? So this is a daily chart. So that price, if we, come down and bring this here, that price there is going to be a high of 358.64. So no matter what happens in terms of price, even if it pulls back, all right, if it pulls back, if this remains green, and it certainly will until this little line changes it and goes red. So that happens 25% of the time. So every time you get a color that goes from a red to a green or a green to a red, that's one of the 25% times it didn't work. When it goes from green to yellow or red to yellow, that means it worked. So that's basically in a nutshell. When you look at the indicator very quickly, you can tell how often it worked and how often it didn't. And so basically what it's saying is that eventually it should take out this high. What it's not telling you is that, okay, are we going to go down for a fib retracement before we go up and above it? Or are we just going to go straight above it like that? It doesn't tell you that, okay? The only thing it tells you is that more highs are coming. Now, that can be really helpful for one thing, obviously confidence level, right? To stay with the trade versus not. It's also touched the target zone, this lower target zone here already. And so the fact that Tesla's still green indicates that it's going to even go higher in the target zone. So that would make sense to stay in a long position for that. We have our pyramids back here protecting us against a catastrophe in case something goes wrong and it's the 25% time it's not correct. But in a case like this, that extra confidence of being able to hold a position even after we hit the target zone is really cool, all right, and really helpful at times. And it works on all time frames in all markets. You can even use it in the futures market. Now, this is the daily time frame. Let's go ahead and scoot over and see what the weekly time frame looks like. In fact, here I've got it loaded on this chart over here. All right, and this is kind of interesting as well. So here it is in the middle, of course, with other indicators here, but here's the PTF, and I'll leave the other ones up for now. But what's interesting about the long-term chart, this represents, every price bar represents a full week of activity. And so on this chart, the PTF has a high that was triggered on the high here back in 2021, at the end of 2021, the fall. All right, and notice what happened after that. The market went into a wave 4, okay, so 3, 4, and during that entire wave 4, the PTF was green. Well, that's telling us a couple of things. One is it's telling us that that is a wave 4 and not a change in trend on the long-term time frame. But it's also showing us that after we have this wave 4 completed, then we should have higher highs. And that's exactly what seems to be unfolding now as we get into wave 5 on an Elliott wave. Now, Notice that the fib extension drawn here has a target zone that we have hit already, just like in that other chart. However, what's unique about this time frame is that this PTF here, which is a longer term hold, is telling you that we should get above the previous high in October 2021. So that's around $420, and we're at 342. So not only do we have the daily time frame telling us that we're having more highs, but we have this time frame indicating that if you're willing to hold it, you should get up to the 420 level. And again, helpful information considering we hit the target zone on this time frame as well. All right, so the PTF can give you a lot of confidence on holding positions, even if they've hit a target zone and you want to know if you should just blanketly get out or stay with it. Okay, and in this case, it's telling you to stay with it. Another great chart to look at on this, of course, is GBTC, which is the ETF for Bitcoin. And notice here, we have a green PTF here, even though we're in the target zone for Bitcoin. So more highs are coming in Bitcoin. Now the target for Bitcoin here is, and this is GBTC. So we'll look at the other ETF in just a moment, or regular, the BTC market. But on this here, we have a target between 73 up to 94, and we're at 74.99. All right, it's come down a teeny bit. We were above 75 before. So it's definitely hit its target zone. And if you remember when we talked about before, we had indicated wave 4 and what a great buying opportunity this was. Hopefully many of you attending here were able to get in on that. And of course, since then it took off here, all right, and we had expansion along with the pyramids. So we had basically a situation here where they took out liquidity here, and the liquidity line happened to be on that, happened to be this area in here. Okay, so they took that out and then took her on up, and now we're basically reaching new highs. So again, we were yellow for quite some time on this time frame, but if we look at the weekly time frame, it has been green the entire time during this pullback, and now it is turning yellow. Okay, so basically the way I would operate this personally, all right, I know many people are thinking Bitcoin is going up to the stars, and it certainly will go higher, but I am going to now start trailing stops pretty closely on this, because now we're in the target, and even though we're just starting to get going here, we have to be careful for a reversal. So I would imagine we'll get a pullback at some point. As long as this stays green, then we should be a-okay to stay with this trade, even if we get a pullback back into the 60s or under the 70s, which certainly could happen before we get up to the upper limits of that target zone. But again, the PTF is what gives me the confidence to stay with this stuff when even we've reached a target zone, and the pyramids are there to save us in case the thing goes south real quick for whatever reason. Now also too, you know, we got Bitcoin here is Bitcoin on TradingView, and that is also, this is the actual coin itself. It's at 94.062, and it's certainly in our wave 5 target zone currently right now. We've got a couple different zones drawn here, but we're you know, in it right now. And again, I would expect this thing at some point to top. All right, but so far it's looking pretty good. One thing I do want to point out on the coin itself here, if we load the owl on this, what's interesting about this, let me just load that back for just 1 minute here to kind of just give you an idea of what I'm thinking here. And so if we load that back here, what we're looking at here is on the owl, we're watching this owl as compared to this one back here. So for example, if we grab a horizontal line The top of that has not quite been exceeded yet. But if it continues higher without a pullback, the momentum may be strong enough to exceed this high, which would then turn this into a new wave 3, which means we'll have to redraw the extensions and go much higher. But that has not happened yet, but it certainly is not out of the realm of possibilities, and we're going to watch that. And so if you're a More subscriber, of course, we're going to keep you up to date on that as we see. But for right now, you want to hold that because we may even get a surprise out of that at some point. So that certainly could be kind of interesting to see how that certainly unfolds. All right, so PTF, pretty simple to use, 3 colors. We don't worry about really the divergences in the oscillator line itself. In fact, I think we could even, let me just take out the owl for a minute here. And then let's change the PTF. And let's see about the plots. We got those, we got those. Show oscillator line, we can take that out and you can just actually see the colors. So you can do it any way you want. My preference is to have the oscillator line in there simply because I like to see when it went above exactly and how high it went above on certain breakouts above and below it. But you know, the most important thing really is focusing in on the actual colors that it produces. So that's kind of where we're at on that. Let's see, another stock we can look at is, or let's take a look at TLT, which is the bonds, for example. All right, so here we have TLT here. We got a yellow PTF. One of the things that was interesting is notice here there's a possible bottom, but the PTF was red at this particular point. And so we did not go long, and that saved us because it made and went a new low at this point. So now we're kind of bouncing along this bottom. And let's check with the longer time frame and see what the PTF is there. Okay, so that's red, indicating that on the longer time frame, we should make another low there. So that's kind of interesting. So we've got a neutral here, but a red one over here. So at that particular case, we stand down on that. And if we go into the shorter time frames, you know, and take a look at day trading time frames, we certainly can see, okay, the PTF in action here as well. So we got red here, red for shorts here, and basically we're in a pullback in a situation where we expect it to resume back to the upside because the long-term chart is green. So if we draw our fibs here, all right, and take a look at our fair value gaps, okay, we're kind of sitting right here. So we're probably going to pull back in between the fibs here, which will probably land us, let's see, 43,459. This is just the YM contract, which is the E-mini Dow futures. But you're putting it right here at these fair value gaps, which would make sense for a bounce. So basically, my guesstimate on this is we'll probably get down to that level. There's also some liquidity waiting right here to be taken out. So we'll kind of wait for that to get taken out and then consider a long trade at that point. If we take a look at the MNQ, you'll see it's probably a similar scenario. We've got red across the board except on the long-term time frame. So the overall longer-term trend should resume back to the upside, but for right now, it looks like more lows are coming. So intraday timeframes, we take into consideration the liquidity, liquidity breaks, manipulation on the liquidity, and we take a look at breakouts and so forth. So a lot of times we go from the higher time frame and then look for entries on the lower time frames. So that's kind of just a day trading type of thing. But in any case, it works on all time frames. That's the point I'm trying to make. Doesn't matter if it's day trading or if it's position trading, it works across the board. And it doesn't matter if you're using weekly charts, daily charts, or forex or anything. Basically, if you can load it into a platform where it is like NinjaTrader, TradeStation, or eSignal, multi-charts, MT4, MT5, you're good to go on it. All right, so any questions on this? I wanted to cover that today. I've gotten a lot of questions on that, and it's kind of interesting to note how it works and what's really important about it. And we've tried to keep these things as simple as possible, so the colors are basically what you want to pay attention to on that. And the settings are all defaulted, preloaded, so you don't really have to mess with the settings at all on it. All right, any questions? Going once, going twice.
Everyone's quiet.
I know, right? Either I bored them to death or
No.
or they didn't understand a thing I said. I'm not sure which.
No, I think a lot of folks have the PTF. I found this very helpful for me to visualize it. So all good, all good.
Well, we got Jeannie's going to be trading the futures markets in the next couple of weeks. She's been helping with the book, so I haven't had time to train her on that. But she's going to start trading in a couple weeks, and she's got a
Wish me luck, everybody.
She's got an Apex account, which I got a couple accounts funded for her on that. So she'll be all set. Well, she'll be practicing for a little bit before she goes with the funded accounts. But
I'll let you all know how I do.
I think you're going to enjoy it. So, all right. So that's kind of what I wanted to cover today. And if there's no questions, we'll go ahead and end it here and take it up next week. Next week, there is some information coming in from folks that they wanted to have me do the ATM strategies on NinjaTrader. So I think I'll do that next week if that's okay with everybody. And that will cover basically how to set up. It's part of the chart trader here, and basically it's this type of thing here where you can go in and custom build those. And it confuses some people, but we'll cover it and show you how to set them up. I got a bunch of them set up depending on how I like to trade and how I want them to trigger. You preset your stops, your targets, and things of that nature. Then you can always move them around if your target or stop needs to be adjusted under a key level of support or whatever. So it puts it on there, and then when one gets hit, they close the other one. So it's kind of nifty. I really highly suggest it, especially if you're day trading, to use those things. That way you don't accidentally leave an order open, which sometimes can happen if you're not careful. All right, so we'll see you back here next week. Thanks everybody for coming. And again, we'll post this in our YouTube private area, so access that through the VIP, and then you should be all set. All right, so have a good one. And I guess next week, what do we got next week, Jeannie? Next week is Wednesday, day before Thanksgiving, so I guess we'll be here, right?
Yes, we will.
All right, so there it is. All right, so I get to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving next week. All right, so have a good one. Thanks so much and trade well.